I'd like to shake your hand, but unfortunately
You're running out of hands. I'll shake your elbow.
There we go. Mr. Scott Summers, what district are you running for here in the state of Illinois, and is it at federal or state level?
It's the United States Senate, statewide.
Now, at this point in time, we're witnessing a rise in third-party candidates because there's a great disdain for the establishment politics. In your opinion, is this the largest you've ever seen volunteers go to like the Green Party or let's say the Libertarian Party?
Well, certainly for the Greens and Libertarians, in terms of the past number of years, I mean, we had Ross Perot over 20 years ago at this point, so it ebbs and flows in terms of third party. But yeah, in terms of recent times, no question, this is a great year for third parties.
All right. So right now, Illinois is suffering from an economic situation where many people are struggling to find work, or if they have work, it's not enough to pay the bills. We're looking at this from a large metropolitan city like Chicago to even smaller towns. What are your plans to at least get Illinois back on track and bring forth legislation in the U.S. Senate?
Well, several things. I have been doing a lot of traveling, and there is grinding poverty all over the state, not just in the urban areas, but in the rural areas as well. So it's floating all boats in terms of economic opportunity. Jill Stein, our presidential candidate, has an excellent idea, and that is to take care of two problems at once. And that is, number one, taking care of the chronically underemployed and getting them jobs at the same time that we're mitigating the climate issues. What that means is having any number of people in training programs, much like Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal, a crash program, training them for climate change, having them trained for building insulation, weatherizing, that type of thing, and also, of course, solar panels and wind. So we'll accomplish two things at the same time. We'll get people back to work, and we'll work on the climate.
Getting legislation like that passed is going to be difficult because there's money in politics. What is the Green Party's stance on money in politics, such as Citizens United? What is your goal and overall the Green Party's goal to really address probably the one crippling issue that's stagnating our democracy, and that's money in politics?
Absolutely, and money, they used to say, is the mother's milk, but it's mother's poison at this point. It's doing everything to corrupt our political system. I would work any number of ways to try and get Citizens United reversed. It might take a constitutional amendment. Obviously, that's a whole lot of work, but we have to start talking about that. We won't accomplish that anytime soon. But I think there's enough anger that's arising among many people in the country that we have to do something to get the money out of politics. We, the Green Party, stand apart in that respect. We do not accept corporate contributions. We do not accept institutional institutional contributions. It's individuals only, and that's the way it should be from the grassroots in terms of funding. I hope we get over to a public funding option at some point, but again, that's longer term. I think people are upset enough with the way things are that they will clamor for change in terms of campaign finance.
All right. Now, speaking of campaign finances, what has been a couple of things that's been holding back the Green Party from being active in American politics? And in your experience, what have you seen hold the Green Party back from actually being on the political stage and floor in U.S. politics?
Well, as you might guess, the ballot access issues are huge. Any number of impediments to independents and third parties coming into the political process. In our instance, we had to have 5 times as many petition signatures as the Democrats and the Republicans did. We succeeded in that respect. We got 53,000 people to sign our ballot initiative to get onto the ballot ourselves. It shouldn't have to be that many. Any number of states treat it differently. Illinois has one of the highest barriers to ballot access overall. That's got to change. There's a chicken and an egg issue to giving money to the Green Party. People say, well, we'll think about it if you make the ballot. And oftentimes, I mean, this year accepted, that sometimes isn't until September, given all the ballot challenges. I mean, the larger political parties file challenges to our petitions. So sometimes we're not cleared to run until September, which puts us at a huge disadvantage. The established parties are free to run after their primary in March. So to try and get up ahead of steam from September to November is almost impossible, and that's precisely the way the big parties want it.
What were the difficulties that you had to face, or your campaign had to face, to get on the ballot here in Illinois?
So there are 4 of us statewide: Jill Stein, Amaju Baraka for vice president, me, and Tim Curtin. So we're all on the ballot statewide, thanks to the work of hundreds and hundreds of hardworking people. We were able to work very closely with the Stein campaign. They were instrumental in helping us with staffing and money, but a lot of it was feet on the ground and going door to door and parade to parade trying to get signatures. An enormous upwelling of work and support by people to get those 53,000 signatures. And I'm very grateful and I'm honored to be on the ballot.
Now, this is very important. The corporate media has been censoring Jill Stein. Now, for you, has anyone from the media here in Illinois reached out to your campaign to get your side of the story? And if so, what was your overall treatment by the media?
Well, it's beginning to start up now. Of course, Labor Day is the traditional start to a campaign. I've had questionnaires solicited and returned to both the Chicago Tribune and Chicago Sun-Times at this point. I expect that to pick up. I would very much like to be on any debate forums with all four of us candidates. I mean, if we're all on the ballot, we all should have a chance to speak to the people. But that's another artifice that comes into play, especially with the presidential debates. It's a 15% polling threshold. But that's made up by the Democrats and Republicans as well, because the Commission for Presidential Debates is not at all an independent or governmental commission. It's a group started by the Democrats and Republicans. So they make the barriers very, very high, and that's to the detriment of all the voters of this country.
Okay. Now, there's another aspect, too, I want to cover. In Philadelphia, Bernie Sanders lost the chance to become the Democratic nominee, and that led to a lot of Bernie Sanders voters, supporters, delegates to, look at the playing field again. Have you seen a rise in Bernie Sanders supporters coming to the Green Party campaign, to Jill Stein's campaign? And if so, what do you want to say to those that are still waiting in wings, that are still being undecided?
Well, there's no need to wait this year because a lot of the things that Bernie Sanders was advocating, and very wonderfully so, he did the nation a great service running as he did. Many of the policies and platforms and ideals are really pretty much also green ideas. So there is a home for the Bernie people this year. They can go into the voting booth on Election Day. They can vote for Jill Stein and Maju Baraka and me and Tim Curtin. And that is a message. Going forward, of course, we have to do a whole lot more. But I'm not really sure that Mr. Sanders, for all that his wonderful work was very much appreciated by me and the Greens, he and anybody who follows him are not going to go anywhere, because the Democratic Party is the party where good ideas go to die. And the Democratic Party, as we found out from the emails, did everything they could to stifle Mr. Sanders. It's an outrage. I mean, people are not going to succeed in the established parties. We have to stand apart in order to get some new political movement in this country.
Very important, because this is a chance for more seats in the House and Senate. Even state level seats are going to be open as well. What is the Green Party's plan, or at least to your best ability, know of, to at least establish more of an influence within U.S. politics? What's the overall strategy with that?
The strategy basically is grassroots up. And it's not just the midterms we're looking at. Here in Illinois, we have what are called the consolidated elections next spring. People have the opportunity to run for school boards and townships and park districts, that type of thing. It's very important that we get people involved in those races, because on a grassroots basis, that's the way it works. Not so much me being top down, but grassroots up, because people get into those elected offices and they move on to things like state rep, state senator, ultimately Congress. We have to be just like the Chicago Cubs, so to speak, and grow a great farm team in order to succeed. And if ever there was an example, I say that, of course, with a big smile on my face, it's this year with the Cubs. A lot of it is predicated on work they did 5 years ago to work up their farm system.
All right, now here's an imperative question that I think a lot of people will want to know. Why are you running? What has made you want to get involved for running for U.S. Senate, running as a Green Party candidate?
Well, several things. I realized that I really have to get up off the couch and do something. I mean, complaining is just not enough. And my sons used to make a joke on me. I used to yell at the television when people I didn't agree with politically came on the air, and they just would kind of roll their eyes. Well, that was right. Yelling at television is just not going to succeed. So I'm up and at 'em. I'm also getting on in years. I'm well into my 60s at this point. I feel very badly about the way the country has gone during my lifetime, and I want to do my very best to set the table for the generations that come.
Now, early on, this is a important factor for me, education, because I'm a college graduate, I'm a former United States Marine veteran, and unfortunately, early on in the Democratic primary, there was Chicago State University that was going to be shut down. What is your overall plan to at least make education here in the state of Illinois more affordable for college students from all brackets of life, whether they be from high-income families to low-income families? So what's your overall plan or strategy?
Well, several things altogether. Let me start, rather than bottom bottom up, top down. Jill Stein has advanced the suggestion that we forgive all student debt. I think that's a wonderful idea. It would free up all kinds of dollars for people who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s to start spending back into the economy, to start saving for retirement, to be able to buy homes. So I think debt forgiveness is a very good idea. I'd like to extend it to other areas, but I'll leave that off for now. We're just going to talk about education. Community colleges. That's an impetus of President Obama to make community colleges free for people across the country. I am a former community college trustee. I was elected to be a McHenry County College trustee. That's up on the state line here in Illinois. And that was a really good experience for me in terms of entree into the education policy field. So I bring that to bear. We have to do an enormous amount with our K through 12, pre-K through 12. And we're absolutely falling on our faces in this state. The state has been shorting funding for primary education for decades. There's a reason for that. I won't go into it, but that just shifts all the burden to the property tax, which is a very unfair way to fund schools. Another thing longer term that I'm concerned about, nobody's really talking about, is all the bricks and mortar. And this is across the board, colleges, high schools, grade schools. With the internet and video conferencing and things that we're probably not even anticipating, we do not need all that bricks and mortar anymore. And there's a Harvard professor, I wish I could remember his name, he forecasts that within 15 years, half of all the colleges and universities in the nation will be boarded up and lights out because we don't need all the bricks and mortar. We will always need bricks and mortar. We are not going to educate a good citizenry by having everybody sit behind a computer terminal. But it's going to be a blend of online and video conferencing and bricks and mortar that's going to do it. And the traditional ways of education are very rapidly going by the wayside. We have to adapt.
Now, you're going to be facing off against the Republican, Democrat, and even the Libertarian candidate. What's going to make you stand out to the voters here in Illinois in regards to representing them? Because the media always wants to portray everything as Democrat, Republican, and third party as a secondary or least choice. What's going to make you stand out to at least to your rivals here in this election cycle?
Well, a combination of things, my training, my experience, and my disposition. I'm an attorney and MBA, as I mentioned, a former elected official, presently an appointed elected official, appointed by Governor Quinn. I can touch on that if you wish. Public policy background in college and actually in my master's degree. And people who come to know me know that I'm a good, common sense person. I'm a good people, common sense person, okay? And that runs to any number of things. I think people, if they come to know me, will find that to be true. The word is getting out. Scott Summers is a guy of the head and of the heart. And it's the heart that we're missing the most in this election.
So what do you want to say to disenfranchised voters, people who are having a hard time vote, or either that feel that this election cycle, specifically even this presidential election cycle, is the most disgusting, vile election cycle, with the two most hated candidates, Clinton and Trump. What do you want to say to those people who are just sitting back and don't want to get involved? What do you want to say to those people who are just thinking that this is just another typical election cycle?
There is hope. This is the American way, a robust democracy. We do not have a robust democracy today. We've got to set the reset button on voting and voter participation in this country. One suggestion that's coming forward, and it's happening in a couple of states now, is everybody is eligible to vote. We should not have to register to vote. If you are a citizen of the United States, you should be able to show up and vote. All this rigmarole about all the barriers that are set, it's designed to thwart voting, and we should just allow everybody to vote.
So, lastly, for our viewers and supporters who are watching this live on YouTube and will see the edited version as well, where can they go to not only volunteer for your campaign and support your campaign, but also for Dr. Jill Stein's campaign? Can you give us those addresses where they need to go to?
I'll give you 4 different websites, and you can connect through any of the websites to find the opportunities that you want. The first one is the Green Party, the National Green Party. Very simple, gp.org. greenparty.org, gp.org for the National Green Party. For Jill Stein, it's right here, jill2016.com. jill2016.com for Jill Stein. For the Illinois Green Party, which will, of course, have me involved, it's ilgp.org. ilgp.org. And for me personally, it's Summers, my last name, S-U-M-M-E-R-S, Summers for Senate, and that's all its letters, no numeral 4, Summers for Senate, a little bit of a twist, .us. SummersForSenate.us. So through all those 4 websites, people have numerous opportunities to plug in. We very much welcome everybody's participation. We got to get democracy back on track.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scott Summers. I think all of us here at Veracity In Defiance are very grateful to have you here and to be interviewed by us. Good luck to you on your campaign, and hope you have a happy Memorial Day for the rest of the day. Thank you for allowing us to be here.
Well, thank you to everybody here at the parade and everybody who's watching. Very much appreciated.